Good evening, Bahamas. Coming up in our news tonight. The president of the BPSU calls for more jobs. The Minister of Social Services plans to do more to help job numbers. A man dies as a result of a traffic accident in Cat Island, and the Minister of Work says things are a million times better at BPL.
Our News is brought to you by Alive.
Welcome to Our News Weekend Edition, and thanks for joining us. I'm Georgie O'Bain, topping news tonight. BPSU President Kimsley Ferguson is questioning the government's public sector job cuts. Jared Higgs tells us more.
We are cutting people from the public service, but yet the public service is still hiring persons. I don't clearly understand that.
With an increase in unemployment from 10% to 10.7%, BPSU President Kimsley Ferguson says several government agencies are understaffed.
Unemployment is increasing. The government has a responsibility to create opportunities for citizenry. I have a number of government corporations, authorities, and ministries complaining that they're short-staffed. But we are sending persons home.
Tourism Minister Dionisio De Aguilar told reporters that an increase in tourism jobs and self-employed individuals are evidence that government was right to slim down the public service. However, Ferguson questioned whether individuals who were let go are ultimately needed.
If persons are not being productive, if they're not being punctual, if they're not coming to work and giving a fair day's work for a fair day's pay, by all means, we don't need those type of persons in the public service. But I can name a number of ministries that are understaffed. And my advice would be, if we find that there's a ministry or authority or government corporation that's overstaffed, we can find ways to redeploy these persons into the service and utilize them. We need to look in our skills bank, see what we have, see what is needed, and try to redeploy persons so that bread can be on the table of Bahamian citizens.
The BPSU president says he isn't buying government story.
It appears hypocritical that the government would be saying that they're overstaffed, but yet ministries and departments are crying and saying they need persons.
Reporting for Our News Weekend, I'm Jared Higgs.
While Social Services Minister Frankie Campbell is responding to the latest job figures, the minister said the recent figures related to the number of unemployed women is concerning, and it's an issue that he and his ministry will tackle. Jillian Gray tells us more.
The recent labor force survey showed that women are more likely to be unemployed than their male counterparts. It's a statistic that the Social Service Minister Frankie Campbell said his ministry is concerned about.
The ministry is sufficiently concerned whenever there is the appearance of imbalance. The Department of Gender and Family promote equality and equity.
While Campbell said it's not an easy thing to change the status quo, he said his ministry will not stop advocating for equal rights for women in the workplace. That, he says, will come through employers giving women the same benefits and pay as men.
Where there is a woman qualified to do the job, give that woman, like you would a man, the opportunity to do the job. Where there is a woman doing a job on par with a man, pay the woman on par with the man.
According to recent statistics, young women had the highest unemployment rate among all age groups, standing at 24.1%. The Social Services Minister said his ministry will continue to empower women and produce programs to assist them.
We continue to rely on the programs that we have been promoting to ensure that women are treated equally in the workplace, that there is equal pay for equal work done. We also continue our programs that will empower women to become entrepreneurs, that will help to add employment within the economy and employ more women to bring us towards the balance.
Reporting for Our News Weekend, I'm Jillian Gray.
Thanks, Jillian. Police on Cat Island are investigating a traffic accident Saturday which left an American male dead. According to reports, shortly before noon, a male was driving a motorcycle north along Queens Highway in the settlement of Smiths Bay when he lost control of the cycle and crashed into a utility pole, resulting in him receiving serious injuries. He was transported to a community clinic in Smiths Bay where he succumbed to his injuries. Officers from the traffic department here in New Providence will travel to Cat Island to continue investigations into the incident. Well, Chief Superintendent Walter Evans, the officer in charge of fire services, reported that officers of the fire branch are actively investigating the cause of a fire which took place shortly after noon on Saturday at the Bahamas Power and Light substation located on Gladstone and Fire Drill Roads. Investigations into the cause of the fire are ongoing. The Minister of Works, Desmond Bannister, and the Board of Bahamas Power and Light had its first annual meeting this past Monday, and according to the Minister of Works, plans are underway for a new power plant.
We have a hard-working board at BPL. We've discussed what they're going to do for the upcoming year, and there are many wonderful things that are going to happen. Many of them I can't speak about publicly right now, but you're going to see the results. One of the huge challenges that they have relates to the plants that we're going to be building for electrical generation in New Providence, and at the appropriate time they're going to speak to you about that.
Despite calls for probes and investigations into the state-owned power company since Bannister came into power, he says the company is 1,000,000 times better now compared to the previous administration.
BPL is 1,000,000 times improved over what it was when we came to office. Not 100 times, 1,000,000 times. And you're going to see continued improvement in BPL.
Bannister, however, did admit that the power company is behind the rest of the world.
In another month or two, we're going to be replacing generators that were put in place in the 1980s. Okay. We're going to be replacing generators that were put in place when Loftus Roker was the minister responsible for electricity and utilities. That shows how over the years we have failed to invest in these utilities appropriately. We are behind the rest of the world.
Well, still to come in our News Weekend edition, the Minister of National Security discusses future plans to implement drones. Stay with us.